Hello, welcome to the Trews. Subscribe here. We're still analysing the coverage around events in Paris and the continued attempts to make political capital and then just literal capital from the tragedy.
This is we're learning new details about hundreds of no-go zones across France and other countries that are off limits to non-Muslims. Steve Emerson, founder of the Investigative Project, joins us.
When you hear something like Steve Emerson, founder of the Investigative Project, or whatever it is he says his job is, you sort of think, this guy must be good, but apparently he's a bloody idiot, this guy, Steve Emerson. He's always going around saying daft stuff, writing furious emails. And this Steve Emerson, before he starts talking, he's one of the few people that Bill O'Reilly won't have on his Fox News programme because he says he's a loose cannon and a nut. Bill, do you want Steve Emerson on?
Oh no, that he's crazy. He doesn't check his facts. He's full of hatred.
But Bill, I thought you did that.
There's a limit.
What more can you tell us about these zones, Steve?
Well, these no-go zones exist not only in France, but they exist throughout Europe.
These no-goes exist not only in France, but in my own way of talking. For example, I'm only using my sinuses to communicate right now.
They're sort of amorphous. They're not contiguous necessarily, but they're sort of safe havens.
What are these zones? They're amorphous. They're safe havens. What are you talking about?
And they're places where the governments like France, Britain...
Britain, right. Well, I live in that one, so I'm qualified to commentate. Good.
Sweden, Germany, they don't exercise any sovereignties.
Sovereignty? They fucking do. They're in charge of everything. They're printing currency, sometimes without any relation to any kind of actual economic reality. There's loads of laws in place. There's sovereignty. They've actually got a sovereign. There's a queen in a great big palace with a shiny, great big fucking golden hat on. I mean, if they do any more sovereignty, Steve, it's going to be balmy.
So you basically have zones where Sharia courts are set up.
What? What are these zones? I live in East London. There's no zones. I mean, there's travel card zones, but I mean, that's pretty much the only ones.
Where Muslim density is very intense, where the police don't go in.
What is a zone that the policeman would go in? Well, a sewer, or like it's the policeman's own bottom? I mean, there are places where a policeman can't go. Space, for example, those sort of interdimensional realms, but they're not like sanctioned Sharia law enclaves. You're making this up.
And where it's basically a separate country almost, a country within a country.
Country within a country.
Then there's another country. It's like Russian doll. I mean, you go in and then there's another littler country, and that one, then there's another country. And it's almost like the idea of a country itself is an arbitrary consensual notion. I mean, think about it. What is America? I mean, it's just a landmass. People came from all over Europe, stole it from the indigenous people, then built it on slave labor. I mean, what is a country? I mean, when you think about it, is there such a... The whole thing's an amorphous zone.
You know what it sounds like to me, Steve? It sounds like a caliphate within a particular country.
What Steve was saying wasn't incendiary enough.
It certainly does sound like that, and in Britain, it's not just no-go zones. There are actual cities like Birmingham that are totally Muslim.
What about Aston Villa? West Brom and those football teams made up of people from all over the world. Where's he getting your data from?
There's places like Norwich. Now, if you go to Norwich, a Muslim will just punch you straight in the dick.
Where non-Muslims just simply don't go in. And parts of London, there are actually Muslim religious police that actually beat and actually...
Don't start saying actually to make things sound more actual when they're made up. I'm in East London. I've never seen a Muslim policeman actually beating anyone. I can see a mosque out of my window. Well, they had me in there the other day. It was good as gold. No problem. Everyone was really friendly. I've got some leaflets and that.
No, but those leaflets, they could go on fire. Why? All you need to do is apply some petrol and a match. Then you got an inferno.
And actually wound, seriously, anyone who doesn't dress according to religious Muslim attire.
This is metastasizing into a simple takeover. I think even you said Europe is over. What did you say, Steve?
Over? Come on, Steve. Full of black. Come, Steve.
I said Europe is finished. I said the other day, Europe is finished.
Europe isn't finished. I'm in it now. Looking around. Steve, how can we trust Steve? He looks like he's confused by his own haircut. He looks like he's 80% bleach.
The leadership of the Muslim communities in Europe deliberately don't want to integrate. And so they establish these zones which refuse to integrate, and they use them as leverage against the host country.
What you might be talking about is ghettoisation, which I think America has a little bit of.
We've seen now in Britain where women wear burqas to hide their identities.
I think that might be their religion.
we've seen like these guys in a church and they're like wearing a dress and they're singing like songs like Domine. I mean, what's that? Or they're trying to disguise themselves.
In certain airports, believe it or not, they don't require the burqas to be removed to identify them, to see who they are.
Exactly. There's a boy with a zigzag scar and he's doing spells, but then he played football on a broom. Yeah, I think that's Harry Potter. I don't know. Sounds pretty Muslim to me.
Gotta
On
wrap,
their passport
Steve.
controls.
Gotta wrap. Great point. I've seen it at airports myself.
Well, although this seems very funny, it does contribute to the general climate of fear, suspicion and division, and I, as a person who lives in a mixed community, am qualified to tell you that I've never been arrested for dressing up like this, and some of you would argue that I should be. That is the Trews True News. Subscribe here.
Is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the news. If the news was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.